Ready to kick this off? Yeah! Once again, thank you for braving the weather. If you can smell, the popcorn is popping. Once again, my name is Erica Thomas. I am the Chair of Political Action for PSUFA, and I'm so happy to see all the solidarity and support for our adjunct faculty union at PSU. Part-time faculty often get our assignments at the very last minute. We are not given pay to develop classes, to change modalities, which means like if they switch you from an online to an in-person or vice versa, you just have to do that for free. If you want to meet students beyond the hourly time that you pay, or we're paid per credit hour, but you have a certain sort of allotment for your class. And anything like extra meetings with students, on-campus participation in meetings, department meetings, anything like that, let alone 2 years from now when my sophomores are graduating and they want a letter of recommendation, will I be here? Who knows? So it's a terrible situation for adjuncts, but it's a terrible situation for students also. And PSU loves to say, I heard it at the last Board of Trustees meeting, we are a majority-minority institution now, which is great, that is excellent, except when you disinvest from the teachers and the students. So what we like to say in our union is that teaching conditions are learning conditions. Faculty teaching conditions are student learning conditions. So we see this struggle as adjunct faculty, along with our full-time faculty and the other unions on campus, and also the unions and the Democratic Socialists and Jobs with Justice who are all here today. We see this as a struggle for public education. We're public workers, this is a public institution, and we should be supporting education. We should be supporting free undergraduate education for all people who want that. And we should be supporting a quality, free public education all the way through undergrad.
A fair contract for PSUFA will recognize all labor, including labor that's currently uncompensated. Erica was telling you about advising, meeting with students, serving on committees, showing up to testify at the Board of Trustees meetings. All of this is uncompensated labor for members of PSUFA. But that's also part of our job when it comes to governance of a university. Why is the university counting on free labor to make it function, to make it work? 40% of the classes at PSU are taught by bargaining unit members of PSUFA. And in the 12 years I've been at this university, that number has only increased. At PSU, we serve this minority, majority student, but we also serve unhoused students. We serve students who experience food insecurity and housing insecurity. But guess what? We also have employees who experience food insecurity and housing insecurity. How can you show up to be there for students if you yourself are concerned about where you're going to sleep at night, where you're going to get your next meal? A fair contract will recognize fair compensation for the labor that's performed. It's the university's own research that's looked at housing insecurity for students and employees. And yet, today, at the Board of Trustees meeting, I heard a conversation about how we're going to house our new university president. The other issue that affects our students deeply is the length of service that people perform here at Portland State University. Those of you who are adjuncts, how long have you been here? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 7 years, 7 years of unstable labor, not knowing whether you're going to get a class until 1 week before it begins. That is unjust and unfair. Why don't we reward the people who are serving our students and teaching our classes and writing the letters of recommendation and doing the emotional labor and advising and working off of the clock? That's what a fair contract will look like. COLAs, pay parity with the full-time teaching professors, And finally, just a few more notes here. One of the things that we can do to strengthen PSUFA within this contract, I like to think about onboarding and inclusion in all of the things that PSUFA members do. What about showing up to department meetings? Yeah. What about being paid to go to new employee orientation? If you don't understand how a university functions, how can you best advise students to go get the services that they need? What if students need accommodations and you don't know how the Disability Resource Center works? What if you have a student who's housing insecure and you don't know any of the other resources on campus because you've never been onboarded? What if you're trying to answer questions about a student's major and you're not invited to department meetings or onboarded with knowing what the curriculum looks like? I say boo. Thank you. And finally, just to repeat, I'm standing up here because we are united, we are a community, and we're all in this together. Working conditions are what?
Learning conditions.
Working conditions are what?
Learning conditions.
Working conditions are what?
Learning conditions.
Thank you.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Union power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Union power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Union power.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, my name is Sarah and I represent Portland Jobs with Justice. We work to build a Portland that supports workers' rights. Portland State University is a public university. And like all Portland workers, adjuncts who work at PSU deserve a living wage. A wage which reflects the value that they bring to this community. Adjuncts are faculty, and faculty are the backbone of every institution of higher education. How important are adjuncts to PSU and its students? According to PSU HR, adjuncts teach more credit hours of classes at PSU than any other group of faculty. Yeah. Adjunct faculty do the essential work of all faculty. You have dedicated years of study and many dollars to become experts in your subject area. And you must continue to study in order to stay current in your field. Adjuncts devote many hours to prep each class session and many more hours meeting with students and evaluating student work. Yet, adjuncts too often are treated as a lower class of faculty. Across the country, adjuncts are more likely to be women, people of color, and gender nonconforming. Here at PSU, as elsewhere, adjuncts are paid significantly less than tenured and tenure-track faculty. They have no job stability, little access to benefits such as health care and retirement, and the universities build their budgets by squeezing and exploiting adjunct faculty. This is bad for faculty, and it's bad for students. Underpaid faculty equals underfed students. Adjunct faculty should not have to wonder whether they'll have a job every 3 months. They should not have to pile on an overload of teaching gigs and side jobs in order to put food on the table. The gigification of higher education must end. PSU adjuncts and their union are saying, we are the tide bringing change. And Portland Jobs with Justice stands in solidarity with PSU adjuncts bargaining for fair pay, affordable health insurance, job security, and a voice in the conditions of their work. Solidarity forever.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Wadlin. I am a fellow adjunct, part-time, non-tenured faculty at Portland Community College. I am a lead steward in my union, PCCFFAP. I am an alum of PSU. I got my bachelor's and my master's degree here. And I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. How many DSA members do we have here? Woo! That's right. Well, it's really uncanny looking at the bargaining platform of PSUFA, because I look at it and I think, wow, at PCC, we are fighting for some of the exact same stuff. And so I ask, why should we have to fight for fair pay for teachers. Why are we in that position in the first place? We're having to fight for that because public education is becoming more like a business. It's becoming a playground for rich people. Well, the people in charge of public education are mostly rich already. You know, the people who tell you that you don't deserve better, that you should just make do. Like the board, the president, the vice presidents, the consultants. They are already making bank or using the university and the college as a stepping stool to something more lucrative. They want to make it so that only rich people can go to college, can go to university. They want to make it so that only rich people can work at a university. Only they can afford to take these jobs. And they want to make it so the only purpose of college and university is to do something that benefits rich people. Like make us a bunch of obedient money makers. That's what they want from students. Do you think public education should just be for rich people? No. I think public education should be for the working class. We need public education that is free, that is well-resourced, that is high quality, and that is for our fulfillment as human beings. And with a strong labor movement, we are gonna fight for that, and we're gonna fucking get it. But no matter how much the ruling class wants what they want, it can't happen. Because they need us. Because we get up every morning and do the work to make the university run. And certain administrators and certain board members need to be made to respect that. So if PSUFA wins, all of my coworkers at PCC are going to benefit from their win. All of my students are going to benefit, many of whom will transfer to PSU, and I want them to have a good experience. The whole community benefits from PSUFA winning here. Because we know, as was said before, an injury to one is an injury to all. And you know what else? A victory for one is a victory for all. And we're going to get a victory for PSUFA. At PCC, faculty, academic professionals, and classified staff recently started bargaining. We're fighting for a lot of the same things, like I mentioned. And it's early on, so it's hard to know exactly how it's going to go. Not looking good so far. And we might need to go on strike to get what we need this year. Are you going to be there on the picket line with me and my coworkers if we go on strike at PCC? We cannot let the ruling class continue to impose austerity on public education, and it'll take all of our efforts to save it from cutbacks. So when they say cutbacks, we say fight back. Cut back. Fight back. Cut back. Fight back. When they say cut back, we say fight back. Cut back. Fight back. Cut back. Fight back. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Next up, we are welcoming Ana Del Rocio, candidate for County Commissioner in District 3. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for having me. This is a full circle moment for me in so many ways. As a student organizer, when I was in college, I was working on fair contracts as a student organizer with United Students Against Sweatshops to cut my university's contract with apparel manufacturers who were using sweatshop labor. We won, but now we got to fight. I remember back to that time, I was a 16-year-old college freshman in a predominantly white institution in the middle of South Central LA. One of the first times I saw someone who looked like me on campus was a worker serving food in the buffet line. And he said to me, "Mija, I'm so glad you're here, so you can never be like us." And I looked at that man, and it took all in me to not cry, because I thought in my head, all I want to be is like you. Someone who's part of the solution to help students out, someone who's actually working in the community, for the community, not someone who's part of the exploitative class using the community, paying them poorly, not paying them enough, not giving them fair conditions. As a mother now myself, when I look at my children and think to myself what I heard when I was a kid about education, go to school, graduate, that's the pathway to prosperity. Now we're seeing not enough pay for work. Now we're seeing not enough support. Imagine going to school, graduating. Imagine getting a terminal degree and being part of the education system that is supposed to be the great equalizer. That's not where we are. That's not what we stand for as a community. I'm running for Multnomah County Commission because just like teaching conditions are student learning conditions, living conditions for teachers and students are also essential. Thinking about housing, thinking about food, thinking about healthcare. These are essential county functions. I look back on my college tenure and I think about that man serving food in the buffet line. I also think about the many folks who served in the classroom in instructional roles, as adjuncts, as staff in the cafeteria, folks who were part of my learning experience, who fed me, not just literally, but fed me emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. These are people that helped get me to where I am. And damn if I'm not here supporting them now in their fight and their contract to make sure that they have what all workers ought to have, a pathway, an ability to support their family, an ability to really show and be part of an institution that claims to serve the generation that it is enrolling, but isn't serving those that are there to teach them and help them learn. So I stand here in support, in solidarity. I stand here because it's important to me as a mother to make sure our public institutions are in integrity internally and externally. I stand here because I'm asking for all of you to vote on May 16th. And remember, we have elections every single year, not just presidential and midterm. And when we build solidarity across every single level of government, we won't have to fight as hard as we're having to fight now for budgets that are moral documents that actually center and prioritize working families. I'm fighting and running for working families. I'm fighting against a Nike corporate lobbyist in this election. So I need all the help that I can get so that we can make sure our government actually truly serves and represents all. Thank you all so much. I'm glad to be here with you all today.
And I wanted to let everyone know that this Starbucks right over here has filed a petition to unionize. Yeah. I did try to work with the organizers at that Starbucks, but they are also students, and they were like, it's week 1, we can't come, we're too busy. But they sent me comments. So on behalf of the worker organizers at Starbucks, I'm just going to read this statement from them. They say, us partners at Starbucks Urban Center are joining in solidarity along with the hundreds of other stores that have filed to get their voices out there. While every day we show up, work hard, and try our best, we feel as if we are on a one-way street. Starbucks says we are partners, yet we do not feel that way. In the heart of downtown Portland and central to PSU, we feel unsupported, unsafe, overworked, and underpaid. At PSU Urban Center, we want to maintain what Starbucks calls the quote-unquote third place, where the community can unite and feel supported. Since the launch of the Buffalo campaign, along with the impacts of COVID-19, we believe that the second largest fast food chain should use its resources to support us. All of us have given blood, sweat, and tears to the company, and many of us are college students who are already under a lot of stress. It's unfortunate that Starbucks, a company that made $4.2 billion with a B dollars in 2021, cannot even pay us a living wage. We worked through the pandemic, dealing with inflation and extreme housing prices. Partners at our store are struggling to make ends meet, with some of us working 3 jobs to do so. It is embarrassing that Starbucks cannot provide a living wage of $15 an hour. $15 an hour is no longer impressive or a competitive wage despite the competitive wage despite the benefits provided. We are overworked and underpaid. Although we still do not know if or when Starbucks will show up to bargain with us, we are super excited to join partners and workers nationwide in this movement towards solidarity. We love our jobs, making drinks, connecting with customers, and creating those special relationships. But we do not feel, as partners or our labor, are respected by the company we work for. We are strong, resilient, and ready. However, we are tired, and we want effective changes. We know that things can change with unionization at our store and with Starbucks Workers United backing us up. We stand in solidarity with PSUFA and all workers around the world who deserve more and deserve better. If you can hear us at Starbucks, thank you. Workers of the world, unite.
I'm a proud member of SEIU 503. We are the workers here on campus who, run your IT or do all the office work, groundskeepers. All those folks are SEIU 503 members. We have almost 60,000 members statewide, and we stand in solidarity with PSUFA in their contract fight. And I want to talk about a new 4-letter word that we hear a lot from the administration and that is particularly wielded as a weapon against adjunct faculty, which is flexibility. Flexibility. Anytime you hear an administrator say the word flexibility, you can raise a finger if you'd like. Because flexibility is what they're talking about when they hire faculty to do the same job as AAUP faculty in terms of teaching, advising, committee work, and they pay them much less money to do that work while also not giving them benefits. This is the model for higher education. We have seen increased adjunctification in higher education for the last 50 years. It is not getting better. It's getting worse. And the reason is because we hear nothing from the administration, which, by the way, thanks for that anecdote, Erica and Emily, about bargaining. It gave me PTSD. I was the bargaining chair. I was like, yes, there is no respect at the bargaining table. You've got to listen if you want to be active. If you want to get activated, go to a bargaining session and you'll become activated. It's absolutely true. And absolutely, let's find housing for our university president while we have students and faculty who can't afford to find a place to live in this city. Where are our priorities? So we stand at SEIU 503 with PSUFA in this fight. And there's one more, I have an ask of everyone here. So the legislature is currently looking at cutting the higher ed budget, cutting the public university support fund budget. That will affect each and every one of us. There is a Ways and Means presentation on the 8th, which is just a couple of days from now in Sylvania. I'm not asking you to go. If you want to go, that's great. Go and testify. But please just submit written testimony and say, fund public higher education in Oregon. If you want fair pay, if you want students to learn, if you want good outcomes for people who are coming out of school and people who want to get a higher education, you need to prioritize it. My senator in the legislature is the co-chair of Ways and Means. I was at her event a week ago and I asked, why aren't you prioritizing higher education in your budget? Budgets reflect values. The response I got was, well, they have another revenue source. That's not a place we want to cut. It's like, oh, well, great. Let's just cut the future. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. PSUFA, we are with you in your fight.
Hey, what's up, y'all? So my name is Alexis. I'm a member organizer for GEU, and we're out here supporting adjunct faculty out here. We just got to remind the administration who's this university for and what we stand for. So, I mean, it's about damn time that administration, becomes aware of who this university serves and what we're out here meeting for. So.
We love you, bargaining team.
We love you, PSUFA people and union colleagues. So as we begin bargaining for fair pay and benefits this year, I look out at the land we are stepping into as a bargaining team, and it looks both very challenging and very inspiring. PSU is digging into their austerity narrative of dropping enrollment and inevitable cutbacks. And while we know from working with our full-time union colleagues that PSU has been presenting a false austerity narrative for years, even when there's been actually more profits than they budgeted for, they keep telling us that we are behind in the budget, that we're losing money. And that's something that the full-time union has researched and shown is a lie. But we also know that these have been some really hard years. So that's real too. It's real that we've all individually and as our families and as our institution really been through a lot of strain in this pandemic season, and that is the landscape that we are also stepping into as a bargaining team. There's been a lot of strain on us and a lot of strain on our school. And while those challenges we face are real and hard, we're also in a moment of massive blossoming for higher education labor union across the country. Yeah, it's real. Graduate employees, staff, full-time faculty, undergraduate students, and adjuncts are organizing effectively, bargaining powerfully, getting strike ready, and winning significant gains in salaries and benefits. As we go into bargaining here at PSU, we are being lifted up by a national wave of labor organizing in general and higher education labor organizing in particular.
for higher education unions, this may be the most active, powerful moment in our history. On our campuses, within our union, and between our campus unions, I feel a new readiness to fight for what we deserve, to not keep putting up with being disregarded and disrespected. We know there is no future to continuing to keep our heads down and playing along. People are becoming ready to stand up, speak out, and ask for what we need for ourselves and for our students, and to ask for real change. So higher education is in a crisis. Both the student debt crisis and the adjunct exploitation crisis are hollowing out our public universities and colleges. And without real change, public higher education is an institution that is in jeopardy. And we as adjuncts feel that so acutely because we are on the front lines of both crises. But when we fight for fair pay, we are fighting for more than ourselves. We are fighting for the sustainable future for public higher education in general. We are fighting for PSU that is for people and not for profits. We are fighting for a livable wage that is the future for our students who also want to go into our fields of studies, because if we don't fight for the future of public higher education, there isn't a future for our students in this field. And that's crazy to think about. Okay, we're also fighting for PSU's mission of access, inclusion, and equity. If PSU wants to be a pathway for our students to gain social mobility, like financial stability and full participation in civic life, we cannot rely on poverty, wages, and exploitation for adjunct faculty. Yep. Now is the time for us to use all the tools that we have as a union, together as people who take care of each other and care about each other, who take care of our students and care about our students, who take care of our institutions and care about the future of public higher education. We need to work together so that we can make PSU be the institution that puts its money where it says its values are. Together, we are union power.
Thank you. Sort of a conclusion. I want to just say, once again, how incredibly just warmed in the heart I am by seeing how many people showed up here in this pouring rain, in this terrible weather, getting, you know, the tents like pouring, dumping buckets of water on us, and bringing your drums and bringing your cameras and bringing your kids and your snacks and your posters. I love all of you for showing up to this. Please stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram at PSUFA Local 3571. Please reach out to me at psufa.erica@gmail.com if you have any questions or you want to do any kind of outreach together. Feel free to attend our bargaining sessions, which you can find out about by following our social media and getting on our email list. And once again, just solidarity forever. Thank you all for coming.